customer success is really just building your process, building your business around what your customer's looking for. What is their goal? Why have they come to you? And then helping them reach that goal with your product, your service, your offering. And when I was in nonprofit, I ran client services. So I was just working with English language learners that were looking for programming to get a job. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure our programs are structured for what they're looking for, and then it meets the needs of the job market to place them. And it's very similar to me. I think there's a lot of principles that align across the activities, because at the end of the day, customer success is just a function of if the people that you're serving are meeting their goals, then you're going to meet your goals.
Customer success just seems so intuitive to me. Prior to being in a more professional business setting, I've worked in a lot of hospitality and retail and customer service, customer facing roles. And so this idea of, I think it's a book, Farm, Don't Hunt, your greatest assets are within your existing customer base. It felt very natural, and just kind of, well, duh, let's go do that.
I think that it goes back also to my education. And when I was in college, I took courses in conflict management and organizational communication. And I would go into large organizations or even just small group settings, and we would talk about what the conflict was and come up with solutions together. And it was all about helping others to figure out what was really going to work for them to make it so that they were happy with the situation and come to a collaborative agreement. And I would say that that's a big piece of what I enjoy, is working with people, making sure that communication is very open and transparent, and then coming up with solutions, sometimes very creative solutions that can many times work for everyone. And I think that's a big piece of customer success as well, is how do you really talk to people, understand what their needs are, where they're coming from, and help them to be part of collaborating and coming up with solutions that work.
It's putting on that, like getting in another person's shoes, like putting on their experience and saying, what do they need out of this? Like, I think so often we just operate from our point of view, our experience is what we know. And especially within a business, it's like, here's what we call things. Here's what our process steps are. Here's what's going on. And being able to step out of that and look outside in and say, well, if somebody's approaching this with no reference point, what do they need? What does the steps look like for them? And to me, I'm like, as we're talking about this, it's almost connecting back. I have my undergraduate degree in English literature. It's like reading a book. It's understanding another person, what they need, what their motivations are, and then being able to explain that and translate that in a way that's impactful.
Effective listening is so important. Listening to what the person is actually saying, repeating it back to them, and making sure that they feel heard and that you understand where it is that they're coming from is a key element of just any really good customer success. And I think a lot of times people are just thinking in their heads, what is it that they are trying to get across, instead of really listening to the customer. And I think that's just a key skill that I constantly use, is making sure that when the customer is speaking, that I'm writing down what it is that they're saying and repeating it back to them so that they know that I understand exactly what it is that they're looking to achieve, and that I understand where it is that they're coming from, and that they know that I'll be taking care of them because I have a really good understanding of what they need.
I spent some time before I got into the technology world and customer success in commercial construction as an executive assistant. And that was my first exposure to this concept of project management. And I loved the idea of seeing a project go from concept and design to groundbreaking and cutting that ribbon and handing a customer their operations manual and saying, this is how you run your building now. I loved that start to finish completion of a project. We do a lot of journey mapping at ESG for our customers. And a lot of times we get through the onboarding implementation phase and we say, great, we're in adoption. Now it's over. We've cut the ribbon. But those processes continue. It's just like operating the building after you cut the ribbon. There's this moment, there's a celebration, and everything comes to fruition, but we still have to keep the lights on. We still have to pay the plumbing bill. We still need pest control and fire protection. There's a whole building and people within it that require continued support and sustainability. And I think customer success, that's the essence of lifetime retention and customer value, right?